ever been tempted to run a marathon? Okay, you might be confused by that question altogether. Like, who in their right minds would be tempted to run 26 miles if you're not being chased by a cougar? Okay, the meaning of the word temptation has shifted to mean a strong desire to do something wrong or unwise, right? Like we think of an addict being tempted by their vice, whatever that might be. Or we think of somebody who's on a diet being tempted by that food that they're supposed to not eat. But do we think of somebody who has like a strong desire to test themselves by running a marathon? So this actually, this one might be closer to the biblical meaning of temptation than what it now means today. So let's check it out. It says that Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted. There's our word. Now this word tempted means to make a test for the purpose of ascertaining how one will behave. So to be tempted is not to be allured into wrongdoing by something on the outside of us, but instead an encounter that reveals our ability. Now Jesus faces 3 tests here. I like to call them tests instead of temptation because it's more in line with this understanding. So the first one, the tempter, whoever that is, says, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. And then the second starts the exact same way. If you are the Son of God. Right, we'll look at that one next, but keep that in mind. Log it away. So the story tells us that Jesus hasn't eaten for 40 days. Now I haven't eaten for like 4 hours. My tummy's rumbling now. So this test is actually not whether or not Jesus can maintain his fast. It's not wrong to eat. We need to eat. The test is whether or not Jesus will prove himself as the Son of God by seizing that title and wielding it with power. Okay, God has already declared Jesus to be the Son of God, and that's true. In the previous chapter, when this voice from heaven spoke at his baptism, said, this is my Son. Okay, Son of God, right there. Okay, the next time that phrase is used outside of the temptation scenario, Son of God, it's used in chapter 8 when Jesus is commanding his unclean spirit to come out of someone, and that unclean spirit addresses Jesus as the Son of God, and then Jesus shushes him. And then when Jesus is arrested, they ask him to prove that he is the Son of God. If you are the Son of God, right? Same language. And then the crowd jeers at him while he hangs crucified on the cross. If you are the Son of God, come down. Now on the positive end, the disciples declare he is the Son of God when he calms the storm in the boat. And Peter declares him the Son of God when asked who he thought, Jesus says, who do you say that I am? And the Roman centurion, by the cross, when he's hanging on the cross, declares of Christ, truly, this was the Son of God. But do you know who never says it? Christ. Jesus never says it. He only ever receives it, never seizes it for himself. He instead chooses the phrase, Son of Man, for himself. The translation I've seen of this is the frail human one. Not the best PR, according to Peter in chapter 16, saying that ain't the best route to go. So, knowing you have what it takes through a testing encounter is valuable and important. But manufacturing your worth from your performance is a recipe for disaster. Right? You already have nothing to prove and nothing to earn. You are loved. God has chosen you and you are loved. Right? Growing up, my dad was someone I knew to be capable and strong. He could fix everything and build anything, it seemed. And the summer he got sick, I met my dad's frailty. He was in and out of hospitals, he lost a lot of weight, and he had trouble breathing. This guy who could do anything. And his last week with us, I helped him get into his wheelchair. I wheeled him out to the living room. I got him onto the couch, I hugged him, and I went to work. He passed away 2 days ago. Now, much of our life is spent fighting our mortality and our frailty. We try to defy death by proving ourselves with actions and accomplishments, right? But God somehow embraces the title, the frail human one, all the way to its end, which was death. We meet love in its purest form here. When we can't pay someone back, we accept mercy for mercy's sake. Are you the Son of God? The tempter asks. No, I'm just the frail human one who will overcome death with love. Just like Christ purified the waters of baptism for us in his baptism, now he disarms death and opens the gates of life for us with his death. In this way, love is the most powerful force in the world because it heals instead of subdues.